It's been called the new neighborhood watch. Ring doorbell cameras let users share security video with their neighbors. But a new report says that the Santa Monica-based company is also giving hundreds of police departments easy access to the footage, sparking questions about privacy and surveillance. Joining me is reporter Drew Harwell, who broke this story for the Washington Post. Drew, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
So you report that 400 police forces, 400 different agencies have partnered up with Ring. So what can these officers do and not do?
So they have an easy way to find homeowners who have Ring video from their doorstep, potentially seeing a crime or suspicious person going by. They can send an automated request to any homeowner in an area that they're looking at and get a response from that homeowner sharing that potentially sensitive video to help them pursue that crime. Ring says the homeowner has the right to say no, but they also have, the right to give over every video that has been recorded by these cameras, which are, very high resolution, motion detecting, internet connected cameras. So it's a really powerful new tool that police have, and there's all sorts of big privacy and surveillance questions that come along with it.
How many agencies here in California and in the Los Angeles area are we talking about that have been partnered now with Ring?
Yeah, California is actually one of the busier states for these Ring partnerships. It's not as big as Florida, which has about 67, but California alone has about 37. And, they go from effectively the border area, Chula Vista, up north of San Francisco, and around LA they have probably a dozen or so different police agencies and sheriff's offices that have agreed to work with Ring in this way and make those requests.
Yeah, that's where the lines get blurred a little bit. I mean, we've reported that El Monte police, they're giving away these doorbells for crime tips, rewarding people to help them out. And then years ago, the LAPD, I think in 2015, even signed up. I think one of the first with the Ring. So what are the upsides and the downsides to this? Because, this is a security tool that, the police departments are getting help with, fighting crime, a crime fighting tool.
Yeah. So for the officers, they feel like, hey, this is evidence that we're getting that we never would have expected to get. These are eyes in different kinds of neighborhoods that we never could have been able to see through before. For the homeowners, though, and especially for the neighbors who live around those homes, the cross-the-street neighbors who are caught on camera all the time, salespeople, delivery people, people who are walking down the street and maybe flagged by Ring homeowners as suspicious and put out there on social media. It's a little less of a sure thing, and there are sort of people who worry about, are we creating a surveillance infrastructure that's capturing a lot of people on camera that they never really knew about? And, are we contributing to this, fear of Big Brother, this fear of being suspicious of everybody who crosses your camera lens? So, I think there's clearly a public safety interest from the police. They clearly feel like this is an important tool to fight crime. But there's all sorts of, worries about racial profiling and seeing people as strangers who don't belong in a community when really they're just passing through. So I think there are some huge privacy questions that we're going to have to negotiate in the next couple of years.
Yeah, flagging maybe an innocent person. I think there was an example, you talked about two kids who were just maybe trick-or-treating, and they were posted as suspicious, two little boys. So, there's definitely that. Another downside, leading people to think that crime is all of a sudden running rampant in their neighborhood.
Yeah, that's a big one from the officers I talked to. Part of this component is that there's a social network that's devoted to local crime called Neighbors, where anybody can post, I had a weird bump in the night, there was a mysterious visitor, I had a package theft. So seeing these all in like a Facebook kind of news feed situation, you start to get the impression that, oh my gosh, my neighborhood is loaded with crime. And so some of the officers are saying people are coming up to us worried and anxious about this rash of crime, when really it's just the same as it has always been. You just know more about it. And so, I think there is a feeling from some of these officers that it's no longer ignorance is bliss for a lot of people. They're having to encounter every single potential suspicion point, every potential crime that happens around them. Is that a good thing, or are people, freaking out over nothing? I think we're having to sort of encounter the fact that we're learning a lot more about the things that are happening in our neighborhood, and not all of those things really pertain to us, and we need to just sort of calm down and not freak out over everything we see on the social feed.
Yeah, and all your reporting, do you think Ring then is maybe taking advantage of people being afraid, preying on our fears?
Some critics will say that Ring has a business model sort of based on paranoia, based on fear. I think from talking to Ring and talking to the police officers, there is, though, an interest from a lot of these homeowners themselves who feel like, this gives me peace of mind. I can look through my camera, I can see when my kid comes home, I can see that we had a package delivered, and I can see if my car is being broken into. So I think it's not really that clear either way. I think there are some big questions when we're now considering that there are millions of these cameras around the country with this huge private police partnership that's setting the rules for them. But I think it's also convenient for people, and people want these. That's why they install them in the first place. So I think we're going to have to deal with that debate for a long time now.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny the good that it's also done. Really, really quick, Drew, address the facial recognition technology that could cause a whole nother slew of problems.
Yes, so Ring cameras don't have facial recognition yet. But last year, they actually filed for a patent that could contribute facial recognition to the cameras. So you could set like a whitelist that says, hey, if my daughter comes home, I get an alert that somebody's at my door, or I can set up sort of a ban list. So if somebody who I'm suspicious of comes to the door, I can get an alert that person is there too. All of these things are experimental and exploratory. It's not real technology yet, but it's not impossible for them to put that in either. And of course, Ring is owned by Amazon. And I have to say that Amazon's chief executive also owns the Washington Post, my newspaper. But Amazon is developing facial recognition technology right now, and they're actually working with police. So I think a lot of these different issues are going to come to a head, and we're going to have to, face up to how technology is really changing our neighborhoods and our lives.
All right, well, I'll be investigating and reporting on this, I think, much more often. All right, Drew Harwell with the Washington Post, thank you for your time.
Thank you.